Welcome, West Alleners,
Oh
to another
God. Oh
episode of
God.
WestAllen.com.
Oh no. Let me tweet this out to everybody. Welcome to the Afterparty, everybody. We had 3 shows this week. We only talk about 2 though, so we're gonna be talking about Flash and Arrow. We're also going to talk a little bit about Stargirl and answer any of your questions in Super Chat. So I hope you guys had a great week. Let me tweet this out, which I'm doing it right now. We are live. Sending this out to Twitter. If you're watching this on playback, I will try and put timestamps in. If I forget, just let me know in the comments that I'm an idiot and I forgot to put my timestamps in. That's totally cool. What is up, everybody in the chat? We have a few people coming in. Dembao, Galaxy Panda, Ethan, Clifford, BTK Predator, Lone Wolf, Joe, Markill, Scott. What is up, you guys? As you can see, I have a picture up of everyone's favorite show, Legends of Tomorrow. I believe this episode was the one that I hated the most. So there you go. I think this is the one that had like the puppets and the ship and stuff, right? I think so. I don't remember. Let's forget about it. Let's forget about it. So what's going on, guys? Hope everybody's had a good week. As you can see behind me, I am redesigning this area. It's going to change even more. So right now it's just a few things up here, but we're getting ready to redo a bunch of stuff. A new camera, all that crap. So hope you guys like it. I have Pagey with me. What's going on, Pagey? How are you doing?
Not much, just soaking, or not soaking, I'm just drinking my glass of Titan's Shill's Tears that I freshly squeezed out today. It was 2 tweets worth, wasn't too much tweeting. But yeah, they're pretty salty. But pretty sweet at the same time.
Okay,
maybe that's just
wonderful.
maybe that's the victory in the taste. But yeah, Titan's Shill's Tears. Would recommend. There's my drink review.
Oh God! Don't even get me started on Titans. People would just be. Eric, please tell me you're going to talk about Batwoman and Supergirl. It didn't come on this week, so
Yeah, I thought they were on. I was like,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to watch them live, but I didn't see anyone talking about it.
If you have questions about Batwoman and Supergirl that you want to ask, you can put them in a super chat, and I will answer them no matter what we're talking about. But I'm not going to do a separate thing on them. Membership stuff. I don't think. What's up, Canada Graphs? How are you? I'm not eligible for it yet. I think you have to have 30K subs or something. Is that right?
I don't know. They've been rolling it out slowly. Like I got it. I've only just set it up, but I got it like 3 weeks ago. But then like Ben, aka Monel Lover, got it. I think like only a couple of days ago.
Right.
So they're slowly rolling it out instead of like just dumping on everyone at the same time.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to check and see.
So you might
Basically,
get it,
it's like a premium service. You can set a price, give out or give away free, not free if you pay for it, emojis, I think, right now. And they're going to offer more things. I'll make you a mod discussing film.
It's pretty much like Patreon and Twitch Prime mixed together.
Yeah.
It's pretty much YouTube trying to get people to use YouTube.
So, and here's the thing. It's going to be a good thing because if we have another adpocalypse, which I feel like we might have one soon, it's going to be a good way for people to
January.
So people were asking about my house. Let me show you guys. I'll just hold my phone up though. This was what my house looked like. This is one of the spots that broke through in the roof. You can see all the insulation came down. Here's another piece that fell on the floor. That's in the hallway. My carpet is pretty much ruined in that room. And here's another spot on the other side. So, yeah. And no, it is not fixed. I'm working on getting it fixed this week, hopefully by Friday. So that's why I've not been able to do videos. I've been, like, my house is a wreck, like, right down the hallway now. It's a mess down there. I have to pull all the carpet up and everything. So, I'm sorry I didn't talk much about Supergirl and Batwoman, but last week was a bad week for me. This week, I may catch up and do some videos about it. I'm not going to do it, like, live here, because we have a lot to talk about between Flash, Arrow, Crisis, and we want to talk a little bit about Stargirl. So anyway, hope everybody's having a good night. Let's start off talking about, let's do Stargirl first and get it out of the way. So, and Paige, you may know a little bit more than I know about this, but let's just kind of throw it out there. So Stargirl was going to be a DC Universe original. Then it was kind of floating in the air, and they said they thought it was going to leave DC Universe and go directly to the CW. That was like one of the rumors that was going on. And now Is that right? Is that the way we were hearing it? And now it's
I
saying,
think I think I think the timeline was it wasn't DC Universe. It was going to HBO Max. Then
okay,
it's going to be on the CW.
okay,
And then it was like, then now it's this one. Then everyone was like, no, it'd never be on the CW. And now it's DC Universe and then CW. Because
right.
it did make sense to me that it would completely scrap being on one of those streaming services. It did make sense to me. Like, why would it completely go to CW?
It's
You know
also
what I
in a
mean?
weird place because apparently it is going to be on the paid DC Universe, one of the shows that's supposed to keep people subscribed. But then it's going to come out on the CW like a regular show. It'll probably air during the summer, US, which is like, June, July, August, September, that area. And then watching Arrow be back later. Yeah, you'll come back right as we get ready to talk about Arrow. But then it's also going to be on the CW Seed app, apparently, to watch for free. With ads. So what point is there in staying subscribed to DC Universe? I mean, I don't see a reason at this point.
Yeah, once that Harley Quinn animated show's done, you may as well unsubscribe because then Doom Patrol season 2 is on HBO Max. And they're saying that Titans is going to stay a DC Universe exclusive.
But it's on
I don't
Netflix
know.
and a lot of places too. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. It can't be on DC Universe then HBO Max, I think, because it's got the Netflix deal. I think it would have to completely disassociate itself with DC Universe and get absorbed into HBO Max.
I have a feeling DC Universe is going to get
dead.
dissolved. It's going to get dissolved, and I think it'll be absorbed into HBO Max.
If it wasn't if they didn't have the comics on there, I think they'd get rid of it completely. But the issue is that you have people that have subscribed for a year past, say, the age. Like someone could have subscribed 3 weeks ago or something for a year. You know, so HBO Max comes out in May. So you can't just scrap that person's thing. You know,
so I wonder how much longer they're going to do subscriptions, because before they can close it down, they're going to have to announce that they're closing it down. So I wonder if they're going to be doing subscriptions all the way through next year, or if they're going to switch over to a month-by-month thing at a certain point.
Oh no, it'll be interesting because DC Universe it's pretty much on like just a ticking time clock, really, just a bomb waiting for it to go off. It just matters when. I think because Titan season 3 doesn't start to finish filming until April or something, so that show won't come out till I guess October. I guess like it did this year,
Right.
maybe a bit earlier. I'm not too sure. It just depends on how long it takes, I guess.
Oh, they didn't give her a way to unsubscribe, so she had to change her credit card. Wow, I didn't realize that. That's
Really?
That's kind of sketchy. So also Stargirl, we're not sure. We know that is it kind of a sure thing that she's going to be in Crisis at this point? I mean, I've seen stuff floating around. I don't know how substantial the information is.
Well, the thing is that they haven't denied it.
Okay.
And everything else that was fake, like tweets came out saying, no, that's not true.
Okay.
So the fact that no one's denied it pretty much says, yeah, it's true.
Okay, so she's going to be in Crisis, so this confirms. So we talked about this a little bit off stream, but I think that means she's going to be on another Earth and that she will be one of the characters merged in during Crisis. I mean, that's got to be...
Yeah, it'll be some sort of montage or something like that. Or it could even be something along those lines, but it would have been something that would have filmed probably in LA.
So now I wonder, are we going to get that Wally West character on the series? Because there was a rumor going around that he was going to be on the show.
I think he's playing Brainwave Jr.
Okay, so no Wally West then, for all the people that wanted a ginger Wally West. Okay, all right. So if you guys have any more questions about Stargirl, let me know. If it's a summer show, I most likely will review it because the summer is a time of year when I usually don't have a lot of content. So,
I don't think it's a summer show. I think it's
yeah.
I think it's going to start in April. I think it's going to replace Black Lightning. So Black Lightning should finish.
So it's the back half
March.
of the fall season.
Yeah. So it'll probably go for like another 4-6 weeks after.
Dim Bao said, "What are Stargirl's powers?" So I don't know what she's going to have on the show. We saw her in the Legends of Tomorrow's episode. She was in like 2 or 3 episodes, I think. So I wonder if she's going to be. I wonder if she's going to have the same powers that she has in the comics. They're going to give her something different. Because I mean, to be honest, I really don't even understand her being a headliner character, but you know,
Well, I think the Stargirl show is more to be like a sort of like a JSA show, which it pretty much is.
yeah,
Um,
she's just going to be the focus character. So
yeah, just be like she's like the new, like the leader of like the new sort of crew. But all of his stuff's like
yeah, all of her powers
through
come from the staff. That's correct, Amethyst.
no, it's doesn't she have like a? It's not a. It's like a. Is it a? It's a belt or her suit or something.
I thought it was the staff.
The staff gives her like I think the ability to fly.
Okay, so she has other stuff then. Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah, I know. Someone might have to let me know. I think it's her belt or something.
I mean,
or like her.
This tells you how much I actually know about this character. Like honestly,
Yeah,
she's been a background character for me for so long. I don't know enough about her, and she's been around for a long time. There's been different iterations of her, so I mean, we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's a belt. Yeah, I thought it was a belt. It's a belt or something like that.
So, all right. So anyway, any more Stargirl stuff about like when it airs and everything? You guys can ask away. So I thought it was her staff. Well, her staff has powers too. So
Her staff can like shoot energy, and then I know she can use it to fly.
right.
I think that's all it does though.
All right. So let's go over here and get our stuff streaming here.
Let me look it up. I'm going to look it up.
All right, you look it up.
I'll look it up.
we don't we're like what? What does it do? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all.
Here, DC fandom.
Here we go. Pagey with the hard-hitting questions. What are
Powers and
Stargirl's
abilities?
powers? Okay.
Abilities: gymnastics, kickboxing, hand-to-hand combat.
Okay.
Paraphernalia: cosmic converter belt, enhanced agility, enhanced durability, enhanced speed, enhanced stamina, enhanced strength. And then the cosmic staff is energy projection and flight. Yeah. So it's the belt that does most of the stuff.
Right. There was no Batwoman or Supergirl this week, guys. I see somebody asking me about why it was in the mega video. Well, it's Tuesday. If the new episodes aren't out, then, sorry. BTK Predator with a 199 super chat. Flash episode 12 out of 10. I'm going to say it was one of my favorites this year so far. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So this week's episode of The Flash was titled The Last Temptation of Barry Allen Part 1. So starting out, just give your overall thoughts on the episode without talking about stuff in detail. Pagey, what did you think? I know your review's already out. What did you think just kind of off the cuff? Like, did you like it? Did you not like it? Was it better than last week? Was it what you expected?
I loved it. I thought it was... the episode I'm thinking to compare it to is probably like The Runaway Dinosaur, where it's a lot of talking, but it's interesting. Like other shows that might talk, won't name them, they're just sort of boring. When just people talking. Like, I think it mainly comes down to the acting. Like, they both killed it, in my opinion. Grant was just probably one of his best episodes.
Yeah.
And then I think just having Centaur Ramamurthy there as like this evil guy that just doesn't really care about anything, but is also extremely smart as well. I thought it was like, yeah, it was very, very good. I think it's definitely the best episode of the season.
Oh yeah, easily.
And honestly, I definitely put it top 10 for the entire series. And I've seen people saying top 5, and I honestly wouldn't argue that. I'd have to think back to other episodes and stuff. But I think easily it'd make top 10.
Grim Reaper with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Grant's acting made the episode for me. I think everybody did extremely well. But yeah, Grant did. He was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So let's talk a little bit about where we started out in this episode, because I really enjoyed the beginning. We pick up with the Ralph versus Bloodwork fight scene. I thought that was really cool. It was well done. We've had a lot of kind of sketchy VFX this season on all the shows.
My biggest issue is that they used it on Twitter, and I'm like, you're waiting for it to get memed because people just take the CGI and stuff.
Yeah.
I was surprised that they went for that as well, because as soon as they're on the ground, I thought the VFX was fine.
Yeah. You're talking about the part from where they were moving from falling? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it was like the aerial fight.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I guess it's because they were stretching and stuff like that. Because I remember when there was like the flash and zoom one, it looked fine.
Right.
Back in season 2, it looked actually pretty good. But then again, I guess they cheat a bit because they have like all the lightning going around them, so it doesn't look. You can't really nitpick. I don't know. I thought it was a bit weird that they really focused on that for a long time.
Yeah.
Would have preferred if they just fell straight to the ground.
So, but outside of that, I think once they were on the ground, the CGI and the VFX were really well done. I was actually pretty impressed with it for the TV. And
Well,
think about it, like
yeah.
even towards the end of the episode with the stuff that happens with Barry and Bloodwork, I thought was well done, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like in regards to like when Ramsey uses his powers, I think it looks pretty good.
So yeah, I was actually very happy with the way that started out, and I'm actually surprised that they picked up literally right where it left off. So we find out early on that even though Ralph absorbed Bloodwork's blood and it seemed like he was fine, which by the way, the punch under the ground and then behind through the sewers, that was pretty cool. I have to say. But we find out that he's infected. They take him back to Star Labs. So before we jump into this, I do want to touch a little bit on the Frost and Caitlin thing. So in this episode, it's basically relegated to the stuff that goes on inside of Star Labs. Why was it that Frost was trying to do Caitlin's job? Like at the end, of course, we find out they're like, oh, well, Caitlin will do the stuff here with the medical stuff or whatever, and that'll be okay. Like, isn't that a given? They both have strengths, and Caitlin's is medical, Frost is more for combat stuff. Why was Frost trying to do Caitlin's job anyway? Did you find that a little weird? I thought it was a little strange.
Um,
I mean, did I miss something? Or like, because it doesn't seem like, why would Frost be doing medical stuff? That doesn't make any sense.
yeah, I think like didn't they establish like a couple of episodes ago that there's sort of like a cognitive thing going on where Killer Frost sort of knows some stuff that would be in Caitlin's mind. I think that, but like they do it to a bit of a larger extent in this.
I just
episode.
feel like in a situation where somebody's about to die, I think it's not the time to test that out. Like that's something
Yeah.
I think you would do like when you're sitting around like, hey, let's practice this connection we have. That was probably my one biggest complaint. There's another scene in this episode that was cringe. But outside of those things, I think I was pretty happy with it. But yeah, the Frost, Caitlin stuff, I mean, God, I wish her story would just... I need it to be streamlined. It's just not... It's not where it needs to be. So, we see that it's suggested that Barry give a blood transfusion to Ralph. And so, Barry does the phasing thing, and they put the needle in. And then I thought it was interesting in that flashback. It shows the little like drop of Bloodworks blood going through the infusion tube and going into Barry or whatever. So what are your thoughts on how Barry got infected? I mean, does it sound like this is something that could happen to him? Because he is a speedster, he heals fast, and they talk about his healing factor in the episode. I mean, that one little drop of blood was that powerful. I mean, do you feel like it should have been a much bigger thing, or did you like how they did that? How it was with the blood transfusion? I mean, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it just would have slowly kept growing, and
Right.
it's not like unless like I think if Barry knew what happened to him earlier, it wouldn't have mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing is that because it had been X amount of time since it happened, it was to that point where it couldn't really be reversed.
Right. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. So this is the interesting thing. When we started seeing, I knew immediately when Ramsey was talking to Barry that we were in the mind world, like he was just in his head, basically. I wanted to say like, what is it, Brainscape or Mindscape or whatever, but that's not what it was.
Dreamscape.
Yeah.
Oh no, Mindscape.
Yeah, Mindscape, whatever it was. And then he turns around. So first of all, in this dream world or whatever, it was creepy. There was like a horror element to some of the scenes, especially like the dinner scene where they're all sitting around and they're eating, and I'm like getting grossed out watching it. I was like, okay, that's kind of disgusting. And then, and then Iris has like the like, the black makeup on her teeth, and then the black around the eyes there. Like, it was so creepy. I was like, this is actually scary. And of course, Nora Allen ends up being the Speed Force again. And I don't know why I got my hopes up. I thought maybe he would talk to his mom again, but it ends up being the Speed Force. That was a little disappointment for me. What did you think of that? Did you kind of expect that? Did you think it was just going to be the Speed Force, or?
Yeah, I assumed it was. Like, I thought it would have been... I don't know why Ramsey would feel the need to betray Nora. I didn't think there was any like real reason to do that, unless Barry had like completely rebelled against him or something. But the whole point of Barry triggering Barry, he was getting like of Ramsey triggering Barry, he was getting the response he wanted. So it didn't make sense for him necessarily go Nora. I think it's just funny that the Speed Force always just takes the form of Nora. Just even like not Iris, didn't want to go Iris this time. Even Nora, like his daughter, didn't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So overall, I like the special effects in those scenes. I thought not just the special effects, but the practical effects, like with the dinner table and stuff like that. I thought it was all like really well done. And this is like, we have probably, I think in this episode, we may have broken the record for how many emotional heart-to-heart scenes we've had in one episode of The Flash. There was just so many of them throughout the episode, and they were all excellent. And Grant was so committed to this role in this episode. I mean, it was another level of acting from him that I don't think that we've seen at all. I mean, it was better than some of the early stuff he did. Of course, there's better episodes, but I think when it comes to acting, I would say this is probably his best episode, honestly. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it's great. What about you? Do you think there's an episode better than this one? Maybe Runaway Dinosaur? Do you think maybe that was a better one? Or
no, Runaway Dinosaur thing was just a well-written episode. But still well acted, but I don't think it was like as demanding as this one. I'm trying to think like I guess like the season 1 finale is up there. Even like the season 2 stuff, like when Henry Allen dies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anything where really like involves his parents dying or something like that. But this is probably up there because I think the entire episode he was like on the verge of like a mental breakdown. So I think this is probably number 1 from at least from my thoughts at the moment.
So I'm thinking back to the episode. One of the scenes that really got me super hyped was when Barry was laying in the bed and he was talking to his Speed Force mother, and she's like, "Well, it's even harder, I guess, because he's telling you the truth or something." And I thought, wait a minute, is Ramsey manipulating the Speed Force now at this point? But it's like, no, he's telling the truth. Like, he can do everything that he's telling you that he can do. And at that moment, like the look on Barry's face in that scene and everything just kind of shifted. I'm just like, this episode was on another level for me. It's almost like we've finally arrived at season 6 with this episode. And the other episodes this season weren't bad. You know, there's been some bad stuff, but not particularly like the entire episode. This one though, I feel like it just knocked it out of the park. This felt like seasons 1 or 2. You know, in terms of its quality. And that's something that I think, again, just goes to show that Eric Wallace knows what he's doing with the show right now.
Yeah.
So we also get that cool scene where Barry is sort of fighting off Ramsey, but he's also trying to hold on to the Speed Force at the same time. And he comes out of it, and this is where we get the stuff at the end where Barry seems to be himself a little bit, but also a little bit off. And did you know that it was not Barry before Iris said it wasn't Barry? Did you have an idea that it wasn't him, or did you think?
Oh yeah, I thought he was just acting weird.
Yeah,
because I was wondering because you could see that he'd become Negative Flash, like that whole thing with the lightning and like they merged and everything like that. You knew he'd become it. It was just the point of whether he was going to reveal it. And you thought he would because they leave it as a cliffhanger.
Right.
But I was just wondering if they were going to figure it out or it was going to be some secret thing where he runs off or something.
But, you know, I have to say this, and if you guys know anything about Pagey and I when we talk about Iris, you know, there's people that get triggered or whatever. I think Iris, even in the parts that I didn't like, she was used exactly the way she should be in this episode. This was 100% the accurate way to use Iris West as a character. Like, she came into Star Labs, she debunked who Barry was, she knew that it wasn't her husband, which makes total sense. But outside of that, she's working a story that connects with what we're doing, but it's her own separate thing that doesn't have to tie in exactly with Star Labs. And I think that's exactly where she should be. Do you think that's true, or did you have a problem with anything that happened with her tonight?
No, if anything, it's good because they've sort of like tried to almost not sidelined, but they definitely haven't put Iris in like the forefront of that journalism thing. Like Allegra's been there
Hmm.
more the past couple of episodes.
I don't really
So I
like
was happy to
Allegra,
see
but
it.
that's just me. Like, I'm annoyed with that character, but
Oh, I think it's yeah. I'm interested to see what they do with her because it feels like she is like a character that doesn't necessarily have to be there.
you know what she reminds me of? She reminds me of Nora from last season. Like, it's very much like she just doesn't fit in on the show. She feels like an outlier, and I don't know
So
why.
that's yeah,
But either way, I think that the way that Barry handled all of that was great. And we're going to talk about Iris and the thing with Wells here in a second. But I do have, I want to talk about the negative flash that we got, which
yeah.
is, I mean, it doesn't look exactly like the one in the comics. And I didn't think we were going to get a suit that looked like that. But the lightning was definitely negative flash lightning. And
Yeah.
I loved, like, Grant looked so cool when he was doing the evil. Like, this is a level of evil that we've not had from like a doppelganger version. This is even more than Savitar, I think. Primarily because Savitar didn't, he was in a metal suit most of the time. But the look on Grant's face and the evil that he was portraying in this episode is completely different from the evil he was portraying as Savitar. It's like two different things altogether. And I'm so glad that it feels that way because it could have just been a rehash of evil Barry again. But this is like a Barry who is partly brainwashed, supercharged with powers from the Speed Force and Ramsey, and totally enthralled by Ramsey at this point, infected by
Yeah.
him. So, I mean, this is cool. Is this going to carry? Are we going to have this version of the Flash in Crisis? Are you going to have these powers going into Crisis? At this point, I mean, I wonder what's going to happen. Do you think we're going to see that? Do you think it's going to be negative Flash at all? Or do you think we're going to get rid of that completely? Because this is a 2-part episode. So,
No, I think if anything, like I don't think he's going to be that in Crisis. I think it's more him having these powers where it's merged with the Speed Force and then Ramsey's powers. Are more maybe going to lead into something that happens in the back half. So I'd like to think that maybe something happens in this episode, whether it be a bit of the blood. Let's say like Barry starts to bleed or something, and a bit of that blood goes on someone, and then they become the negative Flash, or they get some sort of similar powers, or that black hole organization maybe gets a vial of blood from Barry or
right,
something, and they're able to use it to do whatever they want to do with it. If anything, I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think we'll see negative Flash past this episode.
right, okay. Well,
In regards to it being Barry.
right, right. So, we'll talk about the black hole thing when we get over to the Iris stuff because I know that kind of connects to that. But the other thing I want to talk about, somebody mentioned it in the chat here, was they just have velocity laying around in the lab. I mean, even if it's locked behind a fake door or whatever, why was that there? I don't understand why that was even in Star Labs anymore. I mean, did I miss something? Were they holding on to it for a reason? I don't know. They had like spare vials of it, which is weird. Like, I get it, they needed it for the episode. It made sense, but it literally came out of nowhere.
Wasn't it Velocity 10? Wasn't it? Oh no, wasn't it something to do with Godspeed or something? Oh, that was in the future though, so
Right.
I don't know.
Why would they not have it? Because there's no point in having it. It's an addictive substance that kills people. Like, there's no point in them holding on to it. They could just destroy it. There's no point. Matter of fact, Godspeed was looking for it. So having it is a liability. So why would they have it stocked? Guys, why would they have it stocked away? What would be the reason for them holding on to that? There is no reason at all. Matter of fact, they could synthesize it if they needed it for anything. They don't have to have it laying around like it's, oh, just got velocity hanging around. So let's go get it. It was stupid. And it was hidden in a pinball machine, which goes to show that it shouldn't have been there in the first place. Just in case they need it and used it. So, all right, you guys write excuses for the writers all the time. There's no reason it should have been there, but okay. So let's talk about the Iris stuff. So Iris's side plot was the Allegra stuff with the citizen, Team Citizen, as they say. And this is where I kind of had some issues with the story. So we know that Allegra knows that Barry is the Flash. We already know that because Wells told her about it. But when she questions Iris about it, Iris doesn't deny it. She just immediately confirms it. I thought that was a little bit weird. Like, why did you immediately confirm it? You could have easily been like, no, why would you think that? But she didn't. She told her immediately. Did you notice that? There was no hesitation from Iris. Did you find that a bit strange or no?
Not really.
Because of it being Iris, or because you thought that it was like, I just felt like it was weird that she just told her outright like that. It's almost like someone asking you about something that they're not sure of just to get you to confirm it. You know what I mean? Like, she could have been asking her because she didn't know, but she thought he was. And then, you know, of course, Iris just confirmed it. I thought it was weird that she confirmed it. I mean, I thought she would find out eventually, but she's not actually on Team Flash, so it's kind of unnecessary for her to know.
I think it was one of those things where, like, if it was a random on the street that just came up to her, she would deny it because it's someone that she knows in her workplace. I think it's hard to. She wouldn't just make that accusation unless.
I guess, but
You know.
but I would have expected at least some resistance from Iris. Like, why would you think that? Or what do you mean? Like, there was no. She immediately just confirmed it. I just thought that was a little weird. I don't know. And Allegra in general, like I said, she feels like an outlier to me. What do you think of her character in general? Like, what are your thoughts on the Allegra character?
I think she's serving a purpose. I think obviously, like that Nash stuff from, was it last episode or the episode before? I think it's going to lead somewhere. I don't think necessarily that Allegra is Nash's daughter from another Earth. They could do that, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's more that she's just going to.
Allegra did not say that Nash told her until Iris confirmed it. You guys stop.
Yeah, that was after. Yeah.
So stop it. You're trying again.
I think just more to just serve the back half where Iris's storyline is really jumping into that conspiracy. So I think it's hard maybe to have a complete focus on that when maybe Iris will do other stuff. So there has to be other characters there.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that Allegra is going to probably get integrated into Team Flash before the end of the season, at least a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it does make sense. I'm just surprised that it happened so early. Maybe is she gonna be involved in Crisis at all? Has she been on set at all? I don't think there's any photos of her out on set during Crisis. Maybe I don't think so.
I don't think she'd be involved with Crisis.
Why did Barry give up using the voice changer? He wasn't doing a voice changer. He was vibrating his voice. And as far as we're concerned, I guess he still does it. They just don't do the effect anymore. I mean, I don't know. I'm not giving them excuses. I'm just saying it's possible. Gary Gammon, 499 Super Chat. Do you think the characters will know that their history has changed after Crisis? So I don't want to give away anything that I've heard. I've heard different stuff from different people, but some of the characters will know, some of them won't know. And I think that's probably for the best. Do you think that the entire world is going to know what happened during Crisis? Do you think people will know, or they're just going to get sort of deposited on one planet?
Well, if it follows the comics, then only a certain amount of people should know.
Right, yeah.
But then in the comics, those certain amount of people don't actually exist, if that makes sense. They go elsewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm intrigued to see what they do. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Thank you for the Super Chat, Gary. I appreciate it. So that brings me to the next cringe part of this episode. The Team Citizen shot that we got. Where they stand there and they're doing what I feel like is like a cheesy 80s superhero pose or team pose where they're all standing together and the camera goes from one side to the other and they all turn on cue with the camera. And I was like, why does this feel like a backdoor pilot for a show? I mean, it really was this weird shot. It almost made me think about, and I'm not saying this to take anything away from it, but it felt like the super women shot from Endgame, where all the female characters were together or whatever, where I understand why they were doing it, but it still felt cringe to me. That was how this sort of felt. Like, it was very cringe. Like, it didn't feel natural. It felt very fake. Any thoughts on that from you?
My only issue is that the shot was on screen for way too long. I thought my screen had frozen. I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, oh, it's still somewhat zooming in, but very, very slowly.
You were like, did my screen freeze?
Yeah.
So, did I say forced? I didn't. I don't think I did. I don't think it was forced. It just felt weird. It felt like a weird shot. I mean, it's not a big deal. God, what is going on with you guys tonight? You're being super like very on edge about any criticism about the show this evening. Like, I love the episode, so you just calm down. It felt forced. Okay. So yeah, well, I did not exactly mean, well, the shot was forced 100%, but I think the characters being together are fine. And I actually like that part of the story this season. But yeah, the shot itself was forced. So, all right. So the last thing I want to talk about is what we got with Nash Wells, which is where he breaks through the wall that we've been trying to get through for a while to get to this door to the monitor's lair. I still have no idea what those symbols are. Do you have any news on those symbols? Do you know what they are? I have no idea. I'm assuming.
Oh, I put on Twitter just before we streamed. I think it's probably something. The only reason I think it's something to do with the paragons is because the far right is a green arrow. It's an arrow symbol, and also the third from the right. I think it was. Was the third? Let me just look at the photo quickly.
Yeah, they looked familiar to me, but I couldn't place where they were.
The third from, okay, yeah, the third from the right. Yeah, third from the right is the lantern of compassion.
Okay.
Which is like the indigo. I think the indigo lantern sort of thing.
Right.
And
like the Star Sapphire lanterns, right?
No, that's pink.
So the indigo is what?
The indigo is just a different color.
No, what's it like? What is the power of the indigo?
Compassion.
Compassion. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of like will, fear, compassion. I think the one on the far left is black lightning. It sort of looks like his symbol, sort of hard to tell. But because like when it first popped up, I just counted 7. I thought maybe it stands for Ma Novu.
Yeah,
because that's 7 letters. But the fact that the arrow symbols on the far right, and then you have the lantern of compassion third from the right as well.
Yeah, see what you call it.
I think it's
who was it that said it? Yeah, Voline said the 7 paragon symbols for crisis. That makes the most sense. When Nash put the goggles on, I thought it was Captain Cold. It's like somebody's saying that how am I being like, honestly, you guys, like, seriously, do you think this is me being harsh? Like, was everybody like on sensitive pills today? I don't get it. Like, I've been really mean to shows before. This is not harsh, honestly. So anyway, yeah, so the paragons and the symbols and all that stuff, like, I'm just really excited to see where it's going to go. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that they're going to pull directly from the comics. But they have to take liberty with some stuff. There is a comic being released next year, I think, that ties into this, which is weird. Why is it coming out? Is it next year? The comic that's tying into Crisis?
I think it comes out around the time the Crisis ends on TV.
Okay. So
it's the original Crisis story, but I think but then it's got like 2 extra like 24-page issues or something like that. So it's almost got like 2 extra issues in it, which is written by Guggenheim and Marvel.
Is that the one that they released the cover for, correct? Because that's what I saw.
Yeah, and it's not that, but it said not final cover, so I think it might be maybe like a concept cover done a while ago. Yeah. I'm not too sure.
Some folks got to learn how to talk in opinion. I'm just surprised that people that come to my videos think that this is being harsh. That's all I'm saying. Like, honestly, I think I'm being rather lighthearted, but whatever works, I guess. All right. So anyway, I loved this episode of Flash. It's probably, like you said, in my top 10, maybe in my top 5. What are you saying? What were you laughing at?
Some guy was being an idiot on Twitter, so I spoiled the Titans finale for him, and he's got triggered.
Oh, God. So, they haven't seen me harsh, right? So, Pagey, you should just give him a dad joke. Maybe that'll scare him away.
I don't know.
So we're going to wrap it up there. I love this episode. I can't wait. I'll probably watch this again, and I hope the second half of it is just as good as the first. So, what are you guys' thoughts on it? What do you give it on a scale of 1 to 10? What are your thoughts on this week's episode of Flash, The Last Temptation of Barry Allen, Part 1? I want to see what people's scores are, since I was being so harsh. No dad jokes yet.
Dad jokes can wait. Dad jokes can wait.
I'm seeing a lot of 9.5s and 10s. 7. Wow. Wow. Okay. But I'm the harsh one, right? 7. 3. Oh, God. 8.5. I think anything between like an 8.5 and a 10 would be accurate for this episode. I give the build up to Christ on All shows a 5 out of 10. All right. Wow. All right.
All right. Hold on. I just gotta. Ooh. Okay, don't worry.
What's up?
LaMonica Garrett tweeted out a photo. A crisis is coming, and it's toys of Harbinger and Monitor.
Legit toys or just ones from?
No, from like the comic. It's
okay,
the comic
all right.
style of the characters.
So, but you're saying my 10.1 out of 10 was too high? No, I don't think so. So there was no Supergirl or Batwoman this week, you guys. I only talk about the shows that aired during the week. There was no Supergirl or Batwoman. And the only reason I didn't talk about them last week is because my house was screwed up.
Well, actually, here's the most important question, Eric.
Yeah.
When is your Titans Season 2 review coming out?
When the show is good. When the show becomes good.
Oh.
So, I mean, that
you might be waiting a while.
Yeah.
That review might never come out.
Never, ever. Weak excuses, right? Because my entire roof falling in has nothing to do with me not being able to make content. You guys are crazy. So anyway, let's talk about Arrow this week. This week's episode was titled Reset. And
wait, no.
What?
Reset?
Yeah, wasn't it Reset?
Oh, I referred to it as Resetto. Oh, in my review.
Resetto?
I must have looked up the Italian title.
Did you really?
Oh my God, no, of course not.
I was going to say. I was saying, you of all people? It's Arrow. Like, come on. Thoughts on Snyder Cut for Justice League? Never going to happen. Never going to happen. So that was like that time when you told Warstu that your name was pronounced Pagey during one of your live streams.
No, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah, you said it was Pagey, and he like.
Oh yeah, it was.
That was pretty funny. So this episode for me is a tough one because it's similar to the one we had. I think it was last season, where it kept repeating like the same 10 minutes for like an hour or something.
What, in Legends?
No, it was on Arrow. You don't remember that episode? There's an episode where it kept repeating stuff. They kept doing the same thing. No. It was the one where it was like the same 10 minutes, but in different places. Which one was that? Was that the one with Roy? Where he was like, jumped into the
it was like and they blamed it on Emiko.
Yeah, that one. That episode.
Yeah.
So, Markel, 199. Eric gives 99 goods, 1 bad fans. How can you hate this? It's true, Markel. It is. It's like, I can't get away with it anymore. I've been caught now at this point. So it's hard for me to like judge the contents of the episode for a lot of reasons. One being is that it was a character-driven episode, which is something that Arrow does a lot, but I think this one was probably one of the best for so many reasons. So it's hard for me to judge like the first like 40 minutes of the episode because we kind of repeated the same thing over and over, and it was just a lot of character moments with our main focus team this season. So it was what they call like a Groundhog's Day episode. If you haven't seen the movie, it's an old movie with Bill Murray. I remember when it came out because I'm really freaking old. So they're basically repeating this day that the Monitor has set up for them. And they don't know why in the beginning. We find out at the end that he was still testing all of our characters. Which, by the way, that was probably the one thing that did annoy me. But some of the best stuff we got was like the Oliver and Quentin stuff and the Laurel and Quentin stuff. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the two of them getting moments with him in this episode?
I think it was the good. Like, I think it was. They could have easily made it where it was like a massive group thing and Quentin was there, but I think having just Laurel and Oliver was the perfect way to go. And then giving them moments where it was just those, like each character got a time alone with Quentin. I thought it was perfect. And I loved the point of the episode as to why those two characters were the ones experiencing it. Like Oliver's, it was more of a lesson, while Laurel's, it was a reward for not doing something. So, and I didn't know that was necessarily happening. I thought they were both following the same sort of lesson, or it was the same sort of punishment. So I thought the way they did it was really well. And the limited amount of Mia in the episode was really enjoyable as well. Just going to chuck that out there early, because I know you're going to say it as well. Thought I'd get the first one in there.
The what? What was that?
Thought I'd get the first one in there because I know you're going to mention Mia later on.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Basically, the reason Eric hasn't uploaded that many videos is because there's a Mia diss track coming out. Yeah, so just keep your eyes and ears out for that one.
Yeah, I can't get in on the boomer fun. I missed that that part of time. So saw the memes going around. They're pretty funny. So I will say that for me, this was one of Katie Cassidy's best episodes. I think her acting in this was at peak Katie Cassidy. It was peak Laurel. And I think for a moment, for me anyway, it felt like we just had Laurel. It wasn't Earth 1 Laurel. It wasn't Earth 2 Laurel. It was just Laurel and her father. And I think that's the perfect way to wrap up this character's story on this show, because we know she's coming back on the other spinoff show. But on this show, it felt like a great way to wrap up that story with her father, and it couldn't have been done any better. I absolutely loved what they did with that. I think Oliver's conversation with Quentin, where he was telling him thank you and goodbye, it was like almost a tear up moment, honestly, because it just felt like this season really is giving us a lot of fan service, and the best part about this episode, I think, very little of future Team Arrow. Very little. We got him for a couple of seconds in a few scenes in the beginning and then at the end of the episode. And that was it. And look how good it was. Look how good this episode was without having them kind of forced into the episode. Yeah, it was one of those things where I was just happy about it. So we find out that of course, Laurel, as you said, gets rewarded for not doing something. And Oliver finally passes this test by accepting his fate.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that wrap up in general? Like, just your general thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, I think it's good because sort of what Oliver's been doing is not necessarily trying to avoid his fate, but just definitely just sort of trying to conflict it. And that's probably the best way to put it. So I liked that was his lesson that he learned, or at least I think his test was, coming away from this experience, if you want to call it. So, and using Quentin as well as that, I thought was smart.
I did hate the testing thing. I felt like we had already done that and we're still doing it. But I do believe that maybe in this sense, the test was to prepare Oliver for a bigger calling, I think.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true? I mean, I don't feel like he's going to be killed off. I think he's going to move on to a much deeper calling than what he has now. And I think that's what this test was for. You think that's accurate or no?
Well, I don't think it's going to surprise anyone if Oliver becomes the Spectre.
Right.
If that's what happens at the end of Crisis, and that's how technically you can keep Oliver Queen alive in the Arrowverse while also being gone. But maybe he's like only him and maybe like a few others actually know that he becomes a Spectre. Because I think there's got to be a reason that the Spectre's in Crisis, but there's, you know what I mean? They've announced that he's in Crisis, or at least Jim Corrigan is, in Crisis, who is Spectre. But it wouldn't surprise me. That's the whole reason. Like, Oliver's already got the green and everything, the green sort of layout. So I think the Monitor testing him might end with that.
I actually would have no problem with him being Spectre. It makes more sense than making him another Monitor.
I would prefer that. I think him just dying is pretty lame. because he's immortal.
And if you make
Like,
him the
not
Spectre,
immortal,
if
but
you,
immortal.
right, and if you make him the Spectre, then he can just show up whenever he needs to show up, and that's kind
Yeah.
of like, yeah. So Amethyst with a super chat, $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Amethyst. How do you think Crisis will end? So, I don't want to say it's going to be exactly like the comics because they don't have the characters, they don't have the. I don't think they can do what they did in the comics. They can get close. I don't think they can copy it exactly, but I do believe we're going to see some Earths merging. We're going to see some characters gone for good. We're going to see some new characters introduced. And I kind of hope that they clean up, because the original reason for the Crisis event in DC Comics, from what I remember, and I haven't gone back and read the history behind it, but I do believe they were trying to clean up the comics to make everything a bit more streamlined. So they were getting rid of a lot of the Earths to make them all sort of into one, like consistent story with these characters. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to do with this, but we don't know how they're gonna accomplish that. But I think that's the ultimate goal, is for them to do that. So what if Steven doesn't want to do cameos though? Well, I mean, they're just leaving the door open. He doesn't have to come back. But if they make him another character that can just live as an immortal character in the background, then I think it makes sense to me. So what do you think about Crisis? Do you think that's accurate? Do you think that's how it's going to end, or do you have some other theories?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to end like definitively. Like, I don't think it's going to have a clear ending. I think it's just more going to have an open ending with the future of the Arrowverse and where it's heading. Because the Arrowverse, really, if you think about it, is DC's most successful thing in regards to consistency over the past decade.
Can you believe that the Arrowverse is giving us Crisis before the movies? I mean, that's kind of a shock to me, honestly.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy that we're getting two Supermen on screen at the same time before the movies. It's insane that there's multiple Supermen.
There's a Flash movie that's never going to happen. So there's that. I mean, Steven actually signed on for the new TV series. Yeah, the one about wrestling, but he could still, as a guest spot, he could come back and do. I can almost promise you guys, Stephen Amell owes so much to the people behind these shows that if they wanted him to come in and do like one guest spot that would take him like two days to film, he would go out and do it. I'm almost sure of it. So
yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the fight scenes and the fight choreography in this episode. As always, just on point. Arrow does a really good job. I think this week showcased some really good framing for the explosions. The fight scenes were really cool. I think everybody looked amazing. Did you have an issue with any of the fight scenes this week, or did you feel it was all like awesome as usual?
No, I think I didn't have any faults. Usually I can pick them out pretty.
Like the arrow with the like had the little mini nano like explosives that popped off of it or whatever.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool. I just thought it was really good, you know.
Yeah, I can't think of anything too obvious, at least.
So Victor DiCincello with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, has the crossover become too much for the writers that it has affected the regular season of the Arrowverse shows, thus a reset is needed? Okay, so there's a rumor that, and I didn't think about it until somebody brought it up, and I think it was on Twitter. Maybe it was on Twitter? No, I think it was on Facebook. I don't know. That there is no like real intros for a couple of the shows. You know what I mean? Like you usually get the talking intros where the music plays and the characters talk and everything. That hasn't been on the shows this season. And they're assuming that we're going to get brand new intros and stuff after Crisis happens. And that the shows are going to feel sort of like a soft reboot to all the shows. I don't know if they're going to go that far, Victor, to answer your question. I don't know if they're going to make that big of a change. I think merging planets is going to be less of a problem than people think it's going to be. Because National City, even though it does exist in the Arrowverse, we don't spend any time there, or on Earth 1. We don't spend any time there. So moving Supergirl's characters to National City on Earth 1, for instance, wouldn't make much of a difference. It would still look like it does on Earth 38. It would just be slightly different people there, I guess. Or, you know, and it would the main cast would definitely be all of our main characters, or at least most of them. What do you think? Do you think this is too big for the Arrowverse and that it's going to affect the shows in a negative way, or what do you think?
Not really, because I think it's unless characters. The thing is that none of the characters exist like in regards to like say like an Earth 38. Barry Allen isn't there, so really it's just going to be these characters just it's pretty much like moving.
Like there's no Supergirl on Earth 1. So
like the thing I was saying is like if they, I think I was saying to you before this, like if Supergirl merges with Earth 1 or vice versa, like if they just take aliens out, that could be a big difference. But I think that helps Supergirl. If aliens get taken out and like the Kryptonians are the only aliens that are at least known to the world, that's the only like real difference there. And I think it's actually a positive thing. You can clean up a lot of the stuff that's come in, and then like you can make it that like say for Batwoman, for example, you could make it that a lot of the Batman villains that showed up on Arrow in its early seasons never showed up there.
Right.
Or at least a handful didn't. So like, you know, Clock King and stuff can go over back to Gotham and stuff like that. And then Kate could take on Clock King and various things like that. It's just a cleanup thing. I don't think it actually affects it in a negative way in any shape or form. I think it actually helps it. Yeah. Because it's basically just spring cleaning.
Yeah. And you know what? We have said, or at least I've said for a long time, that the shows feel bloated. They need to release some baggage, and I think this is the opportunity for them to do that. So hopefully they take that opportunity and run with it. So, all right. So thank you so much for the super chat. We got a couple more super chats here. We have one from Staggervore, 199 super chat. He said, should there be a cinematic Green Arrow movie? I would love to see a cinematic Green Arrow movie, but I don't know how well it would do since Arrow has been such a successful show. They'd have to be very different from the tone of the TV show. Meaning we'd have to have a wisecracking Green Arrow, one that's more like the comic book version. I mean, you know, Pagey, your favorite comic book is Green Arrow. So would you want to see like a Green Arrow movie that's very different from the TV show, or how would you feel about that?
I think I'd probably want a Green Arrow and Black Canary movie. I think that's the best way to go about it. Get the Black Canary if it's going to be in Birds of Prey. I think she's a good fit. And then, honestly, I'd have it as an HBO Max movie or even series.
People don't understand.
Maybe movie.
A well-funded series, it can be better than a movie. Look at The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is excellent right now.
Yeah, the only thing that sort of turns me off of being a series is the fact that Arrow's been there for 8 seasons.
Right.
So I don't think you want to do a series.
So
I think you're better off doing
let me ask you this question: would you support say a HBO Max, mature Green Arrow series with Black Canary and maybe a few other characters in it? Would you support that over the spinoff that we're getting on the CW?
Oh, and do I look like a numbskull? Do I look like I poured acid into my brain this morning? Do I look Indonesian? No. What the hell? Of course. Like, if anyone wanted the spin-off over that, oh my Jesus Christ. Eric, I feel like leaving right now.
I'm just saying, I was making sure.
Hold on. I'm just blocking you on Twitter. Hold on.
Oh my God. Oh gosh, let's move on. Thank you so much for the super chat. So Jesse Subsol with a $5 super chat says, "Why is Laurel using a gun? Is it distinguish her character in the upcoming spinoff?" I've asked that question for a while now. In some episodes she uses a gun, and some that she uses her cry. I think it's more of a stealth thing. I think when they're doing stealth missions, she doesn't want to use her canary cry, so they give her like a gun with a silencer or something. And then when she's not on a stealth mission, she can use her powers. Your thoughts on that? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. It doesn't really make sense otherwise.
I didn't even hear what you said. I'm still getting over your stupidity from about 2 minutes ago. What did you say?
Laurel using a gun in the episode.
Oh, I don't like that. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm saying the only rational reason would be is when they're on a stealth mission, maybe she can't use her cry. So
yeah, that's the only thing. But then again, is there a silencer on that gun?
Yeah, exactly. Usually there isn't. So I don't know. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right, so let's keep talking about Arrow. We got sidetracked with super chats. I'm not upset about that, but let's get back to the show. Let's see. So we have Harbinger. Lila has been working with the Monitor for a while now, and she seems to know what Crisis is. Do you think that she's been filled in on everything Crisis? Does she know exactly what's happening?
Lila?
Yeah.
You'd have to think so. She
seemed to know something when she was talking to Oliver.
She seemed to know what the threat was, but it wasn't her ability to tell him.
No. I don't think she would. I'm just saying I think that she's totally aware of what it is. Because she's been working with the Monitor for a while.
That's why she's taking everything so seriously.
Right, because the only reason she would be doing all these things and lying to John is because she knows how big the threat is. That would be the only reason why. Do you think they're going to give her any powers at all as Harbinger? Or is she literally just going to be in the suit?
Well, if they do, she's pretty OP.
Yeah, I know.
I think
That's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
She's pretty much Captain Marvel.
Right.
Like the Marvel's.
Do you think they'll do that for her in Crisis? That they'll give her those powers to some degree? Because in the show sometimes they switch up powers a little bit, but they don't always. Because look at Martian Manhunter. He has the powers from the comics, but he's been drastically reduced. So she could still have her powers, but she just might not be as powerful. So
yeah.
All right, so we have the ending where Oliver and Laurel wake up inside of a tent, which I knew right away it was Leanne Yu, and maybe it's because of next week's episode, but I mean you could kind of tell that's where they were. So they wake up in the tent, they sort of have a little conversation. They walk out of the tent, they're on Leanne Yu. We see that future Team Arrow is there with a couple other team members from present day. So this is gonna be the big, as you were saying before we went live, this is the big, I guess, wrap up for the series, right? I mean, this is the episode that's gonna take us out.
Well, it's really the last episode, proper episode of Arrow.
Right. And we're going back to Leanne Yu, and it looks like we're going to be really going back, all the way to the beginning.
It's flashbacks.
Right.
Season 1 flashback.
So,
which is crazy.
Are you ready for this? I mean, this is a big one. I mean, this is a big episode coming up.
As long as Mia has less than 10 lines, then I'm all for it.
I'm just glad that we're going all the way back. And I feel like we've covered all the major stuff from Arrow. I think the only thing that we have not covered, in my opinion, is the Deathstroke stuff, which we know why they haven't gone back and really, jumped into that or whatever.
Yeah.
But they should have put Prometheus in it. Well, he was in some stuff, but not the same. So I feel like, we get this next episode, and then the following episode of this is Crisis. And then the episode after that of Arrow is the spinoff episode,
the shit off,
right? And then the last episode, which is going to be, I think, a love letter to the fans. I don't think it's going to be much happening other than basically people saying goodbye and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So let's see. Victor with a $4.99 super chat says, "What's Stephen Amell's next project? How will Stephen departure affect the Arrowverse?" I think the Arrowverse is going to be fine. I mean, the Flash is strong enough to hold the Arrowverse together, I think. Batwoman still kind of... Supergirl, we know we're getting a Superman show. We know we're getting Green Arrow and the Canaries. So, I don't know. It's going to feel weird next season when no Arrow is premiering. I'm kind of starting to realize, that we're going to have a kickoff of an Arrowverse season with a new Green Arrow.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's not bad. That's so bad. I just can't believe it. So
I really hope that the spin-off doesn't get picked up, but it's pretty much booked in. I'd be shocked if it didn't get picked up.
Yeah. So people saying Batwoman is kind of weak. Batwoman is just kind of meh. I mean, it's not good or bad. It's just, it exists. What is Black Lightning in the Arrowverse? Well, it is confirmed to be part of the extended Arrowverse, because it is going to cross over, which means it is an Earth in the multiverse. So, this episode of Arrow, I enjoyed it. I will go back and watch this episode probably a few more times. I think it's great. Before I do my review, I'll probably watch it back again. So, I'm super hyped about it. Where would you place this episode in all of Arrow? Would you say it's in your top 20, in your top 30, in your top 10, in your top 5? What do you think? There's a lot of great episodes.
Probably in top 20. I think for this season, it's the second best.
Okay. Well, what would be your favorite episode from the season so far?
The first one.
Okay, me too. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So, Batwoman is fine. You guys, it's memeing it up for me. So anyway, I want to know what you guys think. Give me your scores. 1 to 10. What are your thoughts on this episode of Arrow? Resetto, as you said. Pagey, Resetto. The Italian translation. Just give me your scores on it. And you mean Super Bowl. What? What's up?
The person I spoiled the Titans finale for got triggered.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to go to Twitter after we're done to go read this.
I think they blocked me. No, their account doesn't exist. Apparently, I've forced them to delete Twitter.
Batwoman is
Uh,
Eric's roof of the Arrowverse. I don't like. Are you gonna say sorry for pronouncing my name? Pronounce it Clifford?
isn't it Clifford?
No,
Oh no,
that should be Clifford.
Clifford.
Okay. Um, Batman would never abandon Gotham, though. That would never happen. Well, we don't know the whole story, I guess. Batwoman is not my least favorite show in the Arrowverse. Like, it's like I still I'm enjoying this season of Batwoman more than the last two seasons of Legends. So there you have it. Titan sucks. Mark, this is the first time I think I've ever agreed with Mark Hayden. First time. All right, so we're going to close the image down here and just do a few random things before we wrap everything up. Canograph said they deleted their Twitter. All right, so any other stuff you guys want to talk about? Anything you guys have questions about? Let's jump over to the chat. I'll chat a little bit before we wrap everything up. I saw some news on the Wonder Woman 84 script being leaked and that it's not very good. Do you and Paige know anything about that? No, I don't know anything about it. Do you know anything about that?
I know there was test screenings and there was poor responses, but the first movie had the exact same responses. So
Okay.
yeah, you don't base it off a script. That's just because the script is a script.
Yeah.
You know, like the script changes daily on set. So a script that you get leaked could be 30% of it could be different, if not more.
Angelo Carter with a 199 super chat. Read on Twitter, Earth One, Laurel in crisis. What is Laurel in crisis? I don't think either version of her is in crisis, right? Was she on set filming?
Guggenheim said the Earth One Law was in crisis.
Oh, so Guggenheim said it, but how is that even
Yeah.
possible? During crisis?
There's probably something when like Oliver's dying or something, or quote unquote dying. It's a different existence or something, or time travel or something. I think Earth 2 Law will be in there as well.
Okay, so let me say
But
this.
This
This is my thoughts on that. Like, I'm a huge Laurel fan, but I think it's kind of silly to bring Earth One Laurel back into the fold. Like, I really do. I mean, I don't understand that. All this character building for Earth 2 Laurel, and then we bring Earth 1 Laurel back in. Hopefully it is like a hallucination or something. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. review went. I don't know. I wish I could be more enthusiastic about that show. I didn't even finish this last season, you guys, of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I loved that show from seasons 1 to like 4. And then it kind of got a little sketchy for me. But I just think it's a show that should have ended when it actually wrapped up, because I felt like this past season was just not that great. But just my thoughts. Would William have known that they were on Leanne Yu? Why did Mia ask? Oh, that's a good question. William's been to Leanne Yu, so he should have known that's where they were. And there was a couple other people that probably should have known as well. Was it just to give Mia a line? Where are we? That's weird. That's a good question. I don't know. Joe says, are you and Pagey excited for the Phase 4 of the MCU at all? Because I'm not. Joe, they haven't really been promoting Phase 4. There's a lot of clickbait stuff out there, but there's nothing solid right now. I would say that the Eternal seems interesting. I mean, it could be good. I don't know. Shang-Chi's coming out. I guess the next Doctor Strange movie is exciting. Spider-Man will be fine. Guardians, the Asgardians of the Galaxy, seems like it's going to be fun. So there's a couple cool movies in there. It's really hard to have much hype after Endgame, to be completely honest. They're going to have to do something very different. Omega says, what's your favorite comic book to read, Eric? I'm old school. I'm not really reading any current comic books at the moment. When I was growing up in, like, I guess the 1800s, I used to read like a lot of X-Men comics, but I would say that the X-Men are not, or haven't been that great in a long time, since like the 80s. So I think a lot of people say the X-Men peaked in the 90s. So I don't know. And of course with DC, it's the Flash. It's my favorite character in DC Comics. What about you, Pagey? Are you reading anything currently?
ironically reading Titans,
Are you really?
trying to catch up. It's the only one I'm behind on because I just buy the comics and then I'm like, because I binge read comics, like there'll just be like a month period where I'll just read every single comic I bought, and then there'll be like 3 months where I don't read.
Right.
So I'm reading at the moment. Titans is the one I'm on the moment. I think volume 5. I think it is, maybe 6.
Look, can't guess. Would you read the Adventures of Mia Smoke as a Green Arrow comic books?
God,
Oh God,
that'd be a bestseller.
thoughts on Marvel's Runaways and Cloak and Dagger cancellation? I mean, the only thoughts are is I saw it coming. I mean, once the MCU moved over to Disney Plus, it was only a matter of time before they killed off the original TV universe. So,
What I found funny was that Inhumans is one of the long.
I know, how weird is that? Cloak and Dagger
Titans is one of the best DC shows out. Monado lives. Can I block him or do you?
Just do whatever you want. So here's the thing: Cloak and Dagger, I thought was way too. It was like CW. Like it was a romance show with very little like superhero stuff in it, which is fine if that's what you like. But I couldn't really make it through all of season 1. I had to stop and come back to it a few times. I loved Runaways. The only good thing about Runaways and the announcement of it being the final season is that they had time to actually wrap up the show. That's my only complaint, you guys. Like, I of course I'm sad when shows get canceled, but I think my biggest complaint is when a show gets canceled without being able to wrap up the story, because that's annoying. So, like, a lot of the Marvel shows on Netflix, I kind of got annoyed about. Let's see. There's a couple other shows I could think of that got canceled where I was like, but for the most part, I think the networks are doing a better job of like allowing shows to actually finish up. So yeah, I do love Runaways. Like, is that supposed to be? I don't understand the joke with that. The Runaways is a fun show. It's connected, but it's not connected, so it's interesting. Did you watch Runaways at all, Pagey?
I think I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes when they were released at the beginning.
Was it really your thing?
Back.
Yeah.
I just didn't really. I thought it was actually decent, but it wasn't a show which I was like clamoring to get back to watching.
Thor as a woman. Well, it happened in the comics. I don't really.
It already happened, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care too much. The Inhumans. Let's see. They should have done Daredevil season 4. Yeah, they should. Daredevil was like one of my favorite shows. Pagey and Eric, serious question. Do you think it will be Mia or Iris to deliver the death blow to the monitor? What do you think? What do you think?
Felicity is going to return. And yes, that's the answer.
Let's see. Chris Hemsworth going by another name. So here's the thing, guys. If you've read the comics, you'll know that the Jane Foster story with becoming Thor has a very serious storyline behind it. And I don't know how that's going to fit into the style of the Thor movies right now. So we'll see what they're going to do. I think there's been rumors that they're going to do that story. They're not going to do that story. My only issue is if Jane Foster does become Thor and she remains Thor, then I want King Thor to also have some connection to the MCU. Because I feel like if they send him off to be king or whatever he may be doing with the Asgards or the Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever, then I feel like it should still say somewhat connected. Jordan Arnis, thoughts on Kappa, which is the thing that I think is going to cause the next adpocalypse. I stand behind trying to protect what is being shown to people who should not be watching it. I think that's a great thing. I think the punishment and the restrictions are going in the wrong direction. I think that the creators should not be held accountable for something that YouTube should be doing themselves. You know, we just talked about that earlier, about every time we log into our account, you have to mark your videos a special way. You get pop-ups telling you have to do this, you have to do that. I think it's just a big mess, and it's all misguided anger, and I won't be surprised if within the next month we hear about people dropping ad support on YouTube yet again because of some controversy. So, you know, thank you for the super chat, though. There's another one up here I think we missed from Stagavore, which is, I can never pronounce his name right, this character. Onomatopoeia Is that right?
Onomatopoeia.
Okay. Could have been a good final big bad. I don't know if that would have worked. I don't think they needed a quote unquote big bad for this season, with it being a short season. If it was a full season, maybe, but not with a short season. Your thoughts on that?
I don't think it would have been a big bad thing. I think it would have been a cool character for a couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it.
YouTube has needed a rating system for their videos. Well, I mean, technically you have to be 13 to use YouTube, to have an account. So, I mean, they thought that was what saved them from it, but it didn't. So please never attempt that name again. Trust me, I wouldn't if it wasn't there. Thank you for the super chat. Donna Smoke is going to kill the anti-monitor. Exactly, UNE music. They got in trouble for doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing, and now the creators are suffering for it. It's stupid. What happened to the Ninth Circle?
Mate, what happened to Beatrice? Came in, killed Emiko, it just disappeared for the rest of eternity.
Oh god, that's hilarious. Oh gosh, that's hilarious. The Ninth Circle died. So here's the thing, Fresh Sounds Florida. It's not that cut and dry. Like, that is essentially what they're trying to do, but the rules are too vague right now. So that's the problem.
They're too vague for them to actually enforce them properly unless it's like black and white.
If you have bright colors in your thumbnails. Ooh, if you talk about a superhero, that automatically puts you in that. Like, there's just... The rules are not right. They need to be more specific. What happened to Maxwell Lord? Oh, wait a minute, though. Wait a minute, though. Maxwell Lord coming back to Supergirl, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, let's not jump the gun there.
So anyway, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. It's an hour and 15 minutes, which is a shorter show than normal, but we didn't have 2 shows to talk about, and we got Crisis coming up, and there just wasn't... Most of the episodes, the information we needed was contained to the end, so I tried to drag it out a little bit to give you guys a full live stream, so hopefully that worked out.
Would you want a couple of dad jokes to finish off the stream?
Yes, I was going to say, yes, we'll do dad jokes. So you go ahead. Here we go. Okay. Pagey with the dad jokes, please.
Oh, okay. First one. Is everyone ready? Yes.
No.
Okay.
No.
There's two cannibals are eating a clown. That's the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
One says to the other, "Does this taste funny to you?"
Is that the end of the joke?
That's the end of the joke.
Oh, God, that was bad. I'm going to have to use some of these at Thanksgiving for the American Thanksgiving this week, so I can be the heart of the party there. Is that it? So you got another one?
No, I got, actually, you know what? I got 3. Let's go for 3. So
Okay.
This is the second one.
All right, number 2, second dad joke. Here we go.
This graveyard looks overcrowded. People must be dying to get in there.
I was going to use that punchline because I felt it was going that direction.
Okay, I got the last one. I'll let it.
All right, here we go, guys. Get ready. Final dad joke from Pagey for this live stream. Here we go.
Did you hear about the chameleon who couldn't change color?
No, I did not.
He had erectile dysfunction. But let's finish it off there. Thank you, guys.
Oh, God. That's it. Thank you so much for the super chat, everybody. We're getting out of here. If you're in America, I hope you enjoy your holiday this week. We've got a long weekend, so that's going to be fun. And we will see you guys next week. And I'm sure Paige's got a lot of videos coming up. I got a few videos coming up. We'll see. I'm out of here. Thank you so much, Amethyst and Canada Graphs, for coming in. Discussing Film showed up, got his mod status and left, but thank you again for being here as well. Take care, everybody. Have a great night, and I will see you next time. Peace out.